What the hell is going on? WorryWart here. Why worry? I'll do it for you. Before we begin, if you would like and subscribe and think about sharing this video out on your favorite social media platform of choice, I would greatly appreciate it. This is all I have, YouTube, no other social media, so sharing this out would help me greatly. Let's get into today's video. One of the creators of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was recently being interviewed by IGN Ryan McCafferty, and he talked about the power of the PlayStation 5 and how it allowed them to create a game that just couldn't be possible at any other point in time than right now on the PlayStation 5. In particular, the SSD, that ultra-fast SSD, allowing for instantaneous loading of completely new levels in 1 second. He was asked what that meant and what it would mean going forward when designing games, particularly around the strengths of the PlayStation 5 hardware. And here's what he said.
I think we're going to apply this tech in some ways that we haven't even thought about yet, right? There's some really cool technical underpinnings to it that don't only involve, I opened a hole and I walked through the hole and I'm in a different place. And so those camera wipes are one, being able to do camera cuts to new areas in games to deliver some of the same cinematic techniques. So you can imagine intercutting between two different sides of a city or a different place. So whatever we do next, I think we'll get to leverage some of this in a really new, cool way that people aren't expecting.
So that's some really cool insight into the development of Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation 5. They also talked about the unique architecture and how it's set up, the RDNA2 features that they're able to implement, and most particularly that SSD came up quite often. So the future for that platform and creating specifically on it looks to be very exciting, especially from Sony first party. Next up, I wanted to talk about Microsoft looking to release one game every quarter. It looks like all the acquisitions, all the studios, and all the talent that they've purchased is going to start coming to bear, and their plan is to release one first-party game every quarter. Now, no word on what those titles would be, no word on whether they're going to be big AAA games every quarter to get the base excited, or much smaller games. I particularly think it'll be a mix of small, medium, and some large. I think mostly small and medium would be what would be coming out because Game Pass needs a steady flow of content, and I think it takes a much longer time to create those huge AAA games and those worlds and those characters than it does for smaller projects to come out. So I think that Game Pass is going to get much more of the AA to single A content. That's not to say that those AAAs won't be there, but I think they'll be there at the same cadence as Sony, which is usually every 3 to 5 years, you get those really big games that everybody really wants and talks about. And in between, I think there'll be some really small games. That's not to say that those small games can't become bigger games or will not be good. I just think that most people think about first-party games every quarter, and they hear that and they think big games like Halo, like Fallout, like Starfield. Those are 3 games that are really big coming out, releasing into Game Pass. But I do think that if they could meet this expectation, I mean, it seems like a huge expectation to try and meet, but one game every quarter from first party would be a steady flow of content. Now, again, I still think they need to find a way to really communicate what Game Pass is to the average gamer out there. That's the audience that's out there buying PlayStations and Xboxes. That's the audience that really doesn't know anything about teraflops or social media engagement or these groups that are built around consoles online. So you have to communicate to them what Game Pass is, and that's a difficult proposition. But it is exciting to think that their first party will start to be ramped up and start to actually release content. It's been a while, but it looks like it's coming incredibly soon. And the next topic I wanted to talk about is some sales information. I know most people hear sales information, they don't want to hear it. And then when you mention VG Charts, they really don't want to hear it. There's this perception that VG Charts is anti-Xbox. And, their numbers in the past have never been 100% correct, but they've been very close. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at last generation and their estimates. Go back and look at the Xbox 360 generation and look at their estimates. Don't just blindly think that VG Charts is completely and totally incorrect. They're not 100% on, but they are not 100% off either. So their estimates for the Xbox Series consoles, both the X and the S, are around 5.2 million consoles sold right now. And of the PlayStation 5, they've got that at 8.8 million consoles sold. Now, I don't think anybody was expecting the Xbox to outsell the PlayStation. And I don't think that 5.2 million is bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's not that far off right now. It looks like PlayStation will be the first to 10 million. And you know that the first to 10 million wins, according to Peter Moore, who famously said that way back when he was in charge of the Xbox and Xbox 360. First 1 to 10 million wins. And he's talking about getting the console out there to 10 million people usually gives you that lead, that cushion you need, and that word of mouth throughout the generation to become the market leader in that generation. Now, this is very early days to be talking about sales. I don't think it's that big a deal right now. And again, Microsoft's content hasn't released yet. We haven't seen the reception from the average gamer to that content. And once it releases, if it's big, if it's successful, word of mouth starts to grow, I think these sales can sort of even out. I don't expect Xbox to outsell PlayStation 5 within this generation, but it is incredibly close, and that gap could be lessened with great content. And finally, Sony is fostering third-party relationships to build unique, new AAA exclusive content. Deviation Games, founded by two former Treyarch devs famous for Call of Duty, we're looking to create a new style of game and not be reined in by the constraints of making the same old thing over and over and over again, hence the name Deviation. And they were talking about the game changing the industry once it releases. Now, I get it, it's their job to hype up their own content, their own project. But what's interesting here is they decided to sign with Sony for an exclusive deal. And you can almost bet that this game is probably going to be multiplayer focused. So the idea of when can Sony get a multiplayer game, they've got plenty right now, and the biggest and the best are third party. But here they are signing a deal with a brand new studio, fostering a relationship that may lead to a great game, and possibly down the road, a studio acquisition. So let me know what you think about all these topics that we discussed here. The idea of one first-party game per quarter sounds great for Microsoft. Do you think they're going to be all bangers, or do you think they'll be a little bit smaller in scope, maybe 1 to 2 bangers every maybe year, and the rest AA to single A? What do you think about Deviation Games signing with Sony? Most certainly going to be a multiplayer game. Those two guys have a lot of experience with that at Treyarch. And are you excited to check out Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and all that next generation goodness that's baked into that game? And let me know what you think about the future of design with that ultra-fast SSD. SSD in general, do you think that those features are going to be implemented in future titles to create new styles of gameplay? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.